Welcome the chosen ones. Be cautious who you are nice to. They might be wearing dollar disguise. That is not just a warning. It is a prophecy. Because, chosen one, you have no clue who you have just rescued. Let it settle in for a second. While you were out here moving in love, displaying grace, and providing aid with no strings attached, someone else, wrapped in humility and strength, was silently observing. And get this, a percentage of millionaires deliberately walk in quiet to watch how others treat them without knowing who they are. There are no private aircraft, no Rolex signals, just a hoodie, a soft voice, and a soul pleading to trust in mankind again. You choose one without even trying. Just told them the explanation. You were not networking. You were not flexing. You were not aiming to impress. You were simply being your regular golden, carefree, incredibly spiritual self, probably questioning whether your charity is still worthwhile. And, let's be honest, the way people behave these days, you may have wondered whether compassion requires a LinkedIn page to be valued. But yes, the joke is on them. Because while they chased clout, you earned heavenly interest in a vault they had no idea existed. And here's the twist. You unintentionally assisted a billionaire. They've been looking for someone like you. Someone who is authentic, unfiltered, and free of corruption. And now they have discovered you, baby. Everything is going to alter. Stay locked in. Because at the conclusion of this message, you'll recall that one act of kindness you nearly forgot about. Just set you up for a life you never expected. Let's dig in. First and foremost, your compassion was not random. It was a celestial test seen by power. What you assumed was a simple, unintentional gesture of compassion. Perhaps holding a door open, assisting someone with instructions, sharing a meal, or breathing life into someone on a bad day was a divine arrangement. Not for others, but for yourself. It wasn't a random moment. It wasn't little, and it definitely wasn't unnoticed. That identical moment was being seen not just by the individual you assisted, but also by their true identity behind the scenes. Someone having considerable influence. Someone who has the capacity to transform your life without receiving recognition for doing so. You had no idea the guy in front of you radiated billionaire energy while wearing ordinary clothing and keeping a low profile. You failed to discover money because you were not seeking for it. That is the key. You were not performing. You were not aiming to impress. You weren't looking for opportunities. You were just being genuine. That is very unusual. That millionaire didn't need someone pleading, congratulating, or networking with them. They've seen the script 1,000 times. But you showed them something they haven't seen in years. Someone kind with no motive. That moment imprinted you. The cosmos recognized this, as did they. While others pursue success by methods and tactics, you just passed a spiritual exam that qualified you for a degree of reward that you could not have predicted or prepared for. Others chastised you for being too nice, too helpful, and too giving, which was the same thing that opened a hidden door without your knowledge. The individual you assisted may have seemed to need you, but what they truly needed was a reminder that integrity still exists, that purity is not extinct, and that some individuals assist just because it is the proper thing to do. And now they're ready to ensure you never have to doubt your value again. Number 2, you did not rescue a millionaire. You rescued someone who'd given up on mankind. You didn't just assist someone who had money. You assisted someone who had nothing left within. Outside, they had everything. People want prestige, riches, and access. However, on the inside, they were depleted, empty. Humanity has almost reached its end. What they weren't telling anybody was that they were gradually withdrawing from people, trust, and the notion that genuine love or sincerity still existed. Then you came along. Not showy, not striving for anything, but real, sincere, and nice when no one expected it. That moment struck them harder than you could have imagined. They didn't need another person pretending to grin. They didn't need another yes man or someone who idolized their money. What they needed was one genuine soul to show them that not everyone is empty. Your charity didn't simply benefit them. It stopped a downhill spiral. You became the one incomprehensible moment. They couldn't get over the way you talked to them, the way you treated them like people rather than walking bank accounts. It made something click. They were standing on the brink. Perhaps not literally, but more spiritually and psychologically. They were prepared to cut people off for good, ready to give up being generous, prepared to vanish. Then you gave them a reason not to. What you did wasn't just kind, it was life-giving. You unintentionally touched into a weary spirit and reminded it of what it was like to be seen without being criticized, needed without being exploited. And now that they've digested it, they understand you didn't simply give assistance. You provided hope, a quiet, unplanned rescue mission with no cape, no spotlight, and no restrictions. That type of influence does not disappear. It lingers. It haunts. In the finest manner. And now they are more than simply appreciative. They've relocated. When individuals in positions of authority experience a genuine emotion, they act. You didn't just salvage their day. You preserved their faith in virtue. And such gestures are not easily forgotten. It is rewarded. Number 3. You moved a chronology with a never small gesture. That one act of kindness you provided so easily, without thinking about it, and without asking anything in return, did more than just assist someone. It induced a change, a significant change. You didn't simply brighten someone's day. You started a whole new chronology. The cosmos operates on energy, not effort. And when your energy is pure, true, and linked with something greater, even the tiniest action may have far-reaching consequences that you may not anticipate, at least not immediately. You weren't just being polite. You were working at a frequency that few people could access, one in which love does not have to be earned, where aid is not conditional, and where you give because it is who you are, not because you want anything in return. That kind of energy is tremendous. That is the kind of energy that alters results. It may not seem loud or impressive on the surface, but it bends reality underneath it. What you accomplished may have been insignificant at the moment. You could have even gone away and not thought about it again. However, that moment left an indelible impression on both you and them. Without realizing it, you have disturbed what might have been a very dark road for the other person. And now you're going to experience the echoes of that compassion return to you, although intensified. People often discuss karma as if it were solely about retribution or justice, but they forget. It also benefits individuals who have a good life. When you act with a pure heart, you are not just doing good. You're initiating a spiritual chain reaction. And the chain has finally caught up with you. The millionaire. They didn't just get compassion. They got a sign, a tangible break in the frigid pattern they were caught in. Something changed in them. Things are going to change in your life as well. Your prize is not arriving because you attempted to engineer a result. It is coming because you unknowingly provoked a metamorphosis. Now the cosmos has no option but to reply. Number 4. You demonstrated to the elite that purity may exist without a price tag. The privileged are used to everything having a cost, including praise, devotion, favors, and love. It's all part of a quiet transaction in their universe. Most individuals around them are wearing masks, calculating every action, word, and connection. I'm hoping to receive something in return. So when someone like you walked up and offered genuine compassion without expectation, it shattered their system. It disturbed their programming. You accomplished something that money could not purchase. You provided something genuine for free. In their world, it is unheard of. You did not flatter them. You did not ask for a picture or a favor. You did not play the social ladder game. You just treated them like a human person, not a wallet on legs. That does not happen to them. They're so accustomed to being regarded as walking opportunities that your sincerity struck them like a shock wave, and not just a pleasant one, but a disruptive one, forcing them to confront something they didn't want to accept. Purity still exists, although it is very uncommon. What you didn't comprehend was that your energy contained something old and pristine. You did not need to declare your value. They sensed it. You weren't attempting to be spectacular, yet your soul carried weight. For those who've seen it all, bought it all, and done it all, it was more potent than any luxury brand or company pitch. You reassured them that there are still individuals who behave ethically, even when no one is looking. People who do not perform. People who do not plot. People who turn up just as they are. They are unable to quit thinking about it. Not because you wanted to make an impact, but because you didn't. And that is precisely why you did. The elite are silently observing you right now, not out of sympathy or curiosity, but because they are really interested. Because they can purchase everything else, but not what you're carrying. This makes you the most valued person in the room. Number 5. Your energy was sensed before you spoke or opened your lips. Something about you disturbed the atmosphere surrounding them. Your presence exuded a calm power, not the type that demands attention but commanded it without effort. It wasn't only how you moved, carried yourself, or what you were wearing. It was deeper. It was your frequency. Your energy entered the room first, followed by your body. And in a society where most people want approval, your sincerity cuts like a clean razor. They sensed it, even if they weren't able to name it. The Millionaire used to read. People who are trained to detect manipulation from a mile away halted when you entered their area. Not because of your looks, but because your energy did not convey hunger, despair, or entitlement. It conveyed something they hadn't felt in years. Wholeness. You were not selling anything. You were not seeking for an angle. You were merely present. And in that presence, they felt secure. They sensed the truth. Your energy whispered something. No words could be spoken. It told them that you had encountered darkness, but did not allow it to make you bitter. It informed them you had been wounded, but still showed up for love. It communicated to them that you are not here to impress. You came here to be in harmony. That amount of spiritual clarity is unusual. And for someone who lives in a world full of masks and acts, finding someone like you was more than welcome. It was haunting. They couldn't shake it. Days later, your name may have left their memory, but the vibration remained. The inward nudge, the emotional impression, that unnerving feeling that they had just met paths with someone who wasn't part of this system. Someone unaffected by fame, rank, or fortune. Someone who does not need to speak loudly since their spirit has already spoken. You weren't just felt, you were engraved. Number 6, you caused a high-level soul to reconsider their life contract. What you did went well beyond compassion. You accidentally entered someone's life just as they were ready to leave everything. Not simply the business, titles, or the fame, but also the purpose they originally promised to accomplish. That wealthy and high-level soul has already made a decision inwardly. I am done. Done giving. I'm done believing. I am done caring. On paper, they seemed strong, but spiritually, they were collapsing silently. Completely. Your presence interrupted that fall, and it wasn't for a speech or a spectacular gesture. It was the modest human moment you crafted. One that did not seek attention. You didn't provide them a solution. You gave them reality. There is no mask, performance, or secret intent. Just so much genuineness. And as they felt it, something broke open. Not emotional, but spiritual. People like them do not take sudden choices lightly. But after meeting you, they felt more than simply seen. They felt chilly coming out of the fog. They devised an exit strategy cloaked in silent misery and camouflaged as moving on. But your presence made them doubt everything. Why am I here? What if there is more? What if this wasn't the end? This is only a redirection. You did not give them a new map, but you did inspire a new will. That altered everything. That encounter with you reminded them that the world still has brightness. That the mission they believed was done may still be unfolding. They did not need another helper or advisor. They needed a spiritual wake-up call. And you provided it simply by being yourself. They are now questioning everything. They are withdrawing from the deal. They were prepared to shred it and read it again, this time with fresh eyes. All because your soul reminded them of a more profound reality. There is still work to do. There is still something precious remaining. And they're not finished yet. You restarted the mission without attempting. Number 7, you were the only one who did not treat them like a wallet. In a society where people judge their compassion based on what they can obtain, your soul did the opposite. It disarmed someone who had been reduced to a money sign for much of their life. That millionaire, no matter how strong or respected they seem, has become used to being treated like a walking transaction. Every handshake came at an angle. Every grin concealed a motive. Even love, friendship, and compassion were wrapped in tiny print. People did not treat them with humanity. They approached with a plan. But you did not flinch. You did not stop to consider their value. You did not check for gain. Your soul does not operate that way. You did not treat them like a wallet because your soul is not designed to want money. It draws true value. It does not beg. It does not hunt. It doesn't work. You have such a clear frequency that it shakes people out of their typical routines. You showed them something unusual. Connection without a connected invoice. They were presumably expecting the second shoe to drop. I am waiting for the favor, the request, the anticipation, but it never arrived. And your silence screamed louder than any networking pitch they had ever heard. Because, for the first time in a long time, someone viewed them as people rather than portfolios. That one encounter with you rekindled a part of them that they were unaware had gone numb. Their decency and humanity. You reminded them that they were still more than their possessions. And you accomplished it without trying. That is what made it memorable. You were not aiming to impress. And that is precisely why you left an effect. When most individuals seek approval, your energy allowed them to just be. And for someone who had everything but peace of mind, it was precious. That was unusual. That was healing. You become memorable, not because of what you said, dressed, or did, but because you made them feel more human. You made them feel genuine. And now they realize you aren't like the others. You are something they cannot purchase, replace, or forget. Number 8. The system criticized you for being compassionate, but the gatekeeper was watching. They labeled you soft, saying you were too polite, forgiving, and generous. People responded as if your friendliness were a defect. Something has to be fixed, toughened up, or concealed. You were passed over, ignored, and treated as if you didn't belong in rooms where arrogance and manipulation were the standard. You saw others triumph by playing dirty, but you remained grounded in reality. For a time, it seemed like the world had made its choice. Reward the ruthless, punish the pure. But they had no idea that someone strong was watching, not cheering, not loving your postings, not creating a scene, but silently monitoring not just what you did in public, but also how you moved when no one was looking. When you had the opportunity to be bitter but chose kindness. When you were disregarded yet still gave your all. When you had every reason to change but remained true to your essence. That gatekeeper, the one with true access, power, and influence, wasn't searching for more loud voices or strategic drama. They were searching for purity under hardship. And you delivered again and over again without realizing you were being tested. The irony is that the same attribute for which you were chastised for your unchanging compassion was the key to unlocking their admiration. It was the thing that made you memorable, not because it was simple, but because it was unusual. Everyone else was attempting to impress with power, vanity, and false confidence. But you stepped in as yourself, unpolished, honest, and genuine. That's what drew their attention. The door that others attempted to force open via status or manipulation is going to swing open for you. Not because you pursued it, but because you personified what the system couldn't corrupt while mocking your vulnerability. The actual gatekeeper was arranging your invitation. You did not fold. You did not fake it. You remained compassionate in a cold environment. And that is precisely why you are going to be promoted in front of those who previously dismissed you. Number 9, they were testing you the whole time, and you weren't meant to know. That moment you assumed was simply another meeting. It wasn't the individual who seemed to need a little assistance, grace, or patience. They were not just anyone. It was a gate masquerading as a stranger. A test covered in ordinary clothing. You were not intended to know. That was the whole objective. People with actual power, riches, and influence do not make an announcement when they want to see someone's true nature. They come up unassuming to watch how you behave when the cameras are turned off and there is no award in sight. When you believe your actions are insignificant, and you've passed, not because you were aware you were being observed, but because you are always that person. You didn't know who was watching, but they noticed everything. You did not change your tone depending on your status. You didn't ignore folks because they weren't dressed like success. You extended the same presence, respect, and kindness to someone you assumed had nothing to give you. And that was the test. Because here is where most people fail. They only show respect if there is something to gain. But you made no distinctions. That spoke more about you than any resume or speech ever could. What they were actually looking for was if your soul could be trusted with more, greater access, visibility, and resources. They didn't care about who you become when you strive to impress. They were observing who you are when no one is applauding. And what they observed was unusual. Someone whose integrity does not change depending on the situation. Someone who does not demonstrate compassion, but rather embodies it. The hush has ended after the completion of the test. They have made their choice. And what comes next is more than simply a reward. It is a recognition. You are not being elevated because you pursued it. You are being lifted because life said, "This one is real." You lived in a manner that demonstrated that. You passed the exam you didn't realize you were taking. And now the doors you never dared to knock on are ready to swing open wide. Number 10. They tried to forget you, but the cosmos kept drawing you back. They wanted to delete you from their tale, to dismiss the recollection as an uncomfortable idea, a background noise that could be easily ignored. But this is not how the universe works. When something genuine appears, your presence is more than a fleeting instant. It was a signal, one that reaches far beyond their ability to understand or control. No matter how much they tried to bury it under their hectic schedules or diversions, your energy resurfaced like a silent echo in the chambers of their minds. It was not because you yelled or demanded attention. You did not send reminders or make great gestures. You were just aligned, authentic, unshakable. In a world of masks and facades, you have become a rare frequency. They were unable to tune out. Your energy haunted the places where their hearts and minds intersected, refusing to be quiet. The lingering presence is what drew them back, not because they owed you anything, but because they understood you represented the reality they had been avoiding. They found comfort in power and things. However, your honesty served as a mirror, reflecting what true worth looks like when all of the noise is removed. It made them reconsider their decisions, loneliness, and purpose. The cosmos is not in the business of coincidences. When you touch someone's soul at that level, it triggers a chain reaction that continues until the tale is resolved. So here they are, brought back not by responsibility or guilt, but by an undeniable force. They're returning because your energy shines like a light amid their mess, reminding them that what they lost was never about money or prestige. It was about something far deeper. You didn't need to track them down. The universe has done it for you. And now the door is open wide. Because what you carry cannot be forgotten, erased, or replaced. It demands to be acknowledged. A number. You are going to get recompense that will outrage the people who played you. Your breakthrough is not arriving quietly. It's going to strike like a thunderclap amid the quiet. People who ignored you, believed your generosity was weakness, and used you as a stepping stone or a doormat will not see it coming. Your accomplishment will appear like an overnight miracle, an unexpected favor from destiny. But you and the universe understand better. Every missed opportunity, every time they undervalued your worth, was documented like a ledger preserved in the skies. You did not just show up with good intentions. You made a decision that impacted the path of someone's life. Someone with the power and riches that most people can only dream of, such as the billionaire you assisted, will not just forget or dismiss it. They are not the sort to overlook such a rare deed. Instead, they've already begun investing in you, not out of charity, but because they see your worth at a level that others cannot match. The recompense you are going to get is not only financial. This is a statement. It's a crown put firmly on your head in front of those who cheated, abused, or disregarded you. It's a public proclamation that your compassion was not a weakness, but a strength, and that your honesty was not a liability, but rather the basis for legacy. They'll watch as the person they sought to keep down rises with benefits they never expected. What irritates them even more is that the cause of your advancement is not someone they know, control, or have influence over. It's a power beyond their grasp, a heavenly retribution for how they treated you. So let them feel outraged. Allow them to be astonished because your moment has arrived. The retribution is not about vengeance. It is about proper acknowledgement. You rescued a millionaire, but more significantly, you saved yourself. And the legacy, it's only the beginning. A number. You aren't simply being compensated. You're being positioned. This moment is not about a wage or an unexpected wealth. It's substantially larger than that. What's coming is about where you fit into the great scheme of things. It's about position, a holy place reserved only for you, acquired not by hustling or manipulation, but through the calm power of your goodness. Kindness that didn't crack under pressure, didn't fade in the face of brutality, and didn't trade favors. Money may be given to everyone, but influence is reserved for those who have been tried in the fire and have not burned others to live. This is not about charity or chance. This is heavenly alignment. They aren't simply giving you resources. They are calling you to a dimension where your spirit and strength meet. A location where decisions are discreetly made behind closed doors by individuals who have shown their ability to manage the responsibilities that come with true leadership. Your generosity was the ultimate criterion. It demonstrated that you are not only safe to have riches, but also safe to use it with integrity in a society where power corrupts. You proved that you could carry it without losing yourself or injuring others. That's unusual, precious, and precisely why you're being positioned. This is not about gaining prestige or demonstrating anything to the world. It is about taking on a job in which your influence may extend far beyond what money can purchase. You are being put where your effect is important, where your voice can shape legacies, and where your energy can open doors that have previously been closed to most. So, when you get pay, understand that it is more than simply a reward. It is a signal, a notification indicating you've advanced to a higher level, one designated for people who refuse to give up compassion in favor of prosperity. You aren't simply being compensated. You're being prepared for greatness that money alone cannot measure. The prize will be so particular that it will prove to be miraculous. The award you'll get will not be random or generic. It will not be a one-size-fits-all proposition that everyone may fall into. Instead, it will be so precise and unique to you that it will shock you to your core. It will seem as if the cosmos has taken everything about you. The dreams you dared to share solely with your heart. The difficulties you silently faced. The talents you didn't even know you had. And all bundled together into one overwhelming blessing. You'll realize how precisely the chance matches a part of you that has been waiting, maybe even for years, but I never possessed the correct key to open it. This prize will reach a deep part of your spirit, addressing a desire you've never dared to express. Because who actually expresses their innermost aspirations out loud? However, this prize will plainly communicate with that part of you, as if it has been waiting for someone to notice it. That's when the truth strikes. This wasn't a coincidence. Something higher than chance prepared, arranged, and delivered this at just the right time. The perfection of it all, and how perfectly it fits into your life, will be evidence enough that powers beyond the ordinary are at work. When people speak of blessings, they generally envision large checks or dramatic victories. However, your reward will feel like a jigsaw piece fitting into place, confirming that your journey was never arbitrary or wasteful. It will demonstrate that the universe was watching and waiting for you to be acknowledged just as you are. This kind of divine alignment is not based on chance or hustling. It's about being seen by the unseen and cherished by the invisible hands that guide your path. And once you've experienced this type of recompense, this tailor-made gift, you'll never question that your generosity and honesty had a far-reaching impact. This moment will serve as incontrovertible evidence that you were picked and that your generosity was not just recognized. It was celebrated in a manner that only the divine could orchestrate. A number. You were always the wealthier person, but the world is about to witness it. You've always had so much riches that no bank account could ever capture the love you offered without expecting anything in return. The integrity you maintained while no one was looking. The kindness that came from you, even when it wasn't reciprocated. They were your genuine wealth. Dignity was not something you earned. It was something you did quietly and regularly. You were neither broke nor empty. You were affluent in the most deep sense. However, the world lacked the words and lens to perceive it. The issue is not that you lacked worth. It's because normal measurements, figures, titles, and showy belongings cannot reflect what you genuinely have within. Society has long attempted to minimize value to what can be tallied or exhibited, and in that framework, you seemed invisible. However, your money was never intended to be inconspicuous. It was only waiting for the appropriate eyes and heart to perceive it. That moment has arrived. Someone who knows the genuine meaning of worth, who can see beyond the surface and comprehend the deep currents underneath, is about to place you in a position where your true riches can no longer be overlooked. They understand that what you voluntarily gave out is rare money, and they are eager to invest in it, magnify it, and present it in a manner that the rest of the world can finally understand. The world's measurements, money, position, and power are going to catch up to your reality. They'll be compelled to alter the rules because the kind of wealth you represent cannot be assessed by traditional criteria. This is not about suddenly getting wealthy in the usual sense. It's about your inner riches finally shining out in obvious ways. So prepare yourself. You were always affluent in the ways that counted most. And now the whole world is about to witness it. Not as a whisper or a secret, but as an outright, unmistakable fact. As this chapter in your adventure unfolds, understand this. Your compassion was never a flaw or error. It was a secret force, a silent power that kicked off a chain reaction of events well beyond your wildest dreams. You did not just date a billionaire. You set off a chain reaction that transcended riches, prestige, and transient recognition. What you sown in honesty, integrity, and compassion is now growing into a legacy that will outlive any worldly wealth. This is the point at which the universe confirms your hidden efforts and quiet successes, because when you decided to be nice in a society that expected toughness, you were really constructing an indestructible armor. The prize that awaits you is more than simply salary or position. It is about proper recognition, the elevation of your soul and mission. It's about the world finally realizing that you've always been affluent, valuable, and deserving of success. Your compassion will no longer be misinterpreted or dismissed. Instead, it will be regarded as the most uncommon money, incapable of being purchased, traded, or copied. You've shown that true power does not come from pushing your way in, but from living life with a heart open enough to affect the course of events. The millionaire you rescued was only the beginning. What comes next reflects the kind of person you are. Someone whose brightness cannot be quenched, whose energy cannot be ignored, and whose impact will transform the world. Hold on to this reality with confidence. You aren't merely about to get benefits. You're entering a new age in which your compassion will pay off in ways the world has never seen before. You are being positioned for impact, influence, and an indisputable legacy. And as this plays out, people who question you will be compelled to witness a metamorphosis they never imagined possible. This is your moment. Own it, because the compassion you silently carried has become the power that transforms everything. The world is now ready to recognize you for who you actually are, and what effect you were meant to make. If this message spoke to you, you're ready to embrace the power of your compassion and the incredible journey ahead. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insightful, eye-opening thoughts. Hit the like button to express your support and leave a comment below. Share your tale or how this touched your spirit. And if you know someone who needs to hear this truth, please share this video with them. Together, we're creating a community of people who refuse to accept anything less than their genuine value. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. God bless you.